KMP or kill me please, the most trashy real-life stories from all over the internet. My whole family is very superstitious, and I am also not an atheist and a skeptic, but I treat CAD and paradise quite indifferently. I try to live well in this world, without any stupid restrictions. And now to the story. It started with the fact that a strange guy came up to me at the next registration. He kept to himself all evening, walking around, looking for something. Then, towards the end of the party, this guy came up and said that he had a tempting offer. Of course, I am only glad of this. In a separate room, the guy said that he could get me anything I wanted, give me any money. But he has conditions. I have to sign a contract to transfer my soul to him, and when I go to hell, I will serve this guy forever. At first, it seemed like a joke to me. And I said I want an iPhone 12 Pro Max and $10,000. He laughed and said he would get the iPhone. How surprised I was when this man called me the next day. He brought me a smartphone with the same contract in duplicate, which states that from now on my soul is his property after my death. Looking at the phone, I immediately signed my name without really reading it. I ran home, already anticipating what opportunities would open up thanks to the iPhone. I threw this contract in the trash at home and ran to my apartment. And in the evening, I was waiting for a scandal. Mom found the document, took the iPhone, and began demanding that I find that guy and return the soul back. I explained to her that it was impossible. On top of everything else, she also called her grandmother, who made an even bigger dressing down. And then she invited a priest. He confirmed to them that I have no soul, and that I urgently need to be rescued, until a day has passed since the signing of the contract. Of course, I first tried to find that dude and roll everything back. But as it turned out, no one knows him, and I don't remember him at all. For this type to be present at the party. Damn, I went and called on the host. Now there's no iPhone, no soul. Help me promote the video. First unsubscribe from the channel, then subscribe and like. This will promote the video, and it will get into the recommendations. An offer to earn some money came from a foreign company. Write them quite a sophisticated physics engine. I did it for a long time, really long and efficiently, hoping for a possible continuation of work with them. As a result, I received a negligible reward, and they made a simple, stupid game on it, which has become incredibly popular, and they are raking in incredible money on it. The KMP didn't even mention me in the credits. My sister is 8 years old, I'm 16. The parents wanted a young son, and she was born and named it Daniel. Not Daniela, but Daniel. They dress her in boys' clothes. Buying toys for boys. Football was forced to walk. She hardly goes to school, does not walk. Everyone laughs at her and calls her names. I promised her that in 6 years, we would change our name, working part-time on a hairpin and dresses for her. But recently she took me to live with her. When you grow up, I don't want to be with them. Still, they even communicate with her in a masculine way. I can no longer calm down for hours and see my sister's eyes forever red from tears. My great-great-grandmother was quite tall, and she chose a tall husband for herself. They had my great-grandmother, also tall. And, of course, she chose a taller husband for herself, so as not to be complex. My grandmothers and my mother did the same. Each generation of women was born higher and higher, and they were forced to look for giant husbands. I at the moment the final link in this generation. I'm 16 years old, and I'm over 2 meters tall. I've always dreamed of being fragile and graceful, but I'm only fit for the basketball team. Yesterday in the subway with all the dope, cracked the head of the assistant, to which normal people only reach with their hands. At the age of 12, I was obsessed only with the fact that I wanted to become physically stronger than my classmate, and learn how to talk to girls. For this, I went to live with my grandmother in the summer, and started going to the gym. Even though they laughed at me, I worked with a bodybuilding coach. He even got into shape a little, pumped up his muscles, and in our last lesson, I talked to him about computer games. And he told me about such a wonderful game as World of Warcraft. Now I am 16 years old, I'm 4 years playing WoW. A level 85 elf. It's cool. Except I have 2nd-degree scoliosis and no muscles. I put on my glasses and never talked to a girl for more than 10 minutes in my life. When I come to my grandmother, she begins to strenuously stuff me with food. Don't eat, lamentations and insults begin. So all my life. Do you know what the problem is? She tells everyone what a fat granddaughter she has behind my back. I have a 13-year-old brother. He is very harmful and constantly messes with me. This time, I brought a girl and we had fun. It was getting shorter. A week later, it turned out that this asshole filmed everything on a video camera. He's been blackmailing me for 2 weeks now by showing me to my parents. They are very proud of me, and I do not know what they will do to me for this. The first week, he charged me $5,000. Not such a small amount. And today, he took my new iPhone. I tell everyone what a good dad I have, how he jokes, how he understands me, how modern he is, and how much he loves me. His words literally passed from mouth to mouth. He is an example for all parents. I made it up. Let's go to a party with a friend. One of the guys stood out. Thin, with thin fingers, did not leave the two friends. Drank in moderation, did not smoke. Liked it, spoke very intelligently, philosophized in the course of communication. Big deal, the voice is uneven. And the fact that he moved, I even liked him sharply. I drank a little bit for courage. I approach him, we talk, everything seems to be fine. A friend winks from around the corner, like cheering. In general, I myself reached out to kiss him. He was stunned, then replied. We just sat and chatted until 3. He took my number, then disappeared. In general, I haven't heard a word for 3 weeks. I have shaken his friends. Them. He's gone. We don't know when he'll be back. He is not in social networks. KMP, it was a girl, the sister of one of the friends. The only guy who interested me, but they had a great laugh. I thought it only happened in soap operas. And even then not at all. My wife and I came for the holidays. Her sister and her husband are visiting from another city. All about the same age. Everyone has similar interests. There have always been good and close relationships. One evening, they drank heavily, and the 4 of them ended up in the same bed. There was no scene, and they woke up in the morning. The awkwardness quickly faltered. They laughed at themselves, teased each other. Soon they went home. Yesterday it turned out that my wife is pregnant. It is quite possible that from the brother-in-law. They called them, her sister is also pregnant. It's quite possible that it's from me. The KMP, and probably the others too. My former classmate found me. In a social network. We were friends in grades 9-10. So just walked by the handle, kissed several times. Then I went to university, and I didn't need a tushnik. He was too boring. He worried for a long time that I left him, called, followed, wrote tearful letters, and then disappeared. And now, 20 years later, I found it, we met. He said that he could not survive the separation. I started drinking, got into a drunken fight. His leg and spine were broken. He lay motionless in a corset for 3 years. I learned to walk again for 2 years. As soon as he got to his feet, he immediately began to follow me. Saw me pregnant. Went on a binge, fell out of the 3rd floor. He was in a coma. Lost memory. Relatives spent a lot of money on treatment. Memory returned. Through a friend found me. I was on guard outside the house for several days. I saw it with a child. And pregnant again. Got drunk, got into a fight, took the life of a drinking buddy. Planted, he served for 12 years. And I didn't know anything about it, and all these years, I didn't even think about it once. And now he says that I broke his whole life, and that God sees everything, and everything will come back to me. I'm afraid. I was running out of gas. When I was driving home from work, I was terribly scared. Driving not so long ago. And not to stand, and not to waste gasoline, rushed through a railway crossing at a red light. I was deprived of my rights. And then it turned out that the sensor in the gas tank was faulty. The tank was almost full. Every day off, I wake up to the sound of a drill. This has been going on for 6 months. The neighbor lives literally behind the wall, and you can even hear him sneezing, let alone talking about a drill. Plus, I have been afraid of this sound since childhood, and always tried to avoid it. My head starts to hurt, and I'm terribly angry. But that's not all. After that, the grandmother comes and starts whispering mats to herself. One day I was walking home, suddenly there was a call. My mother was on the other end of the line. Quickly asks, "Where are you now?" I say I'm going home. Abruptly throws the phone. Perplexed, I approach the entrance. I met 2 friends. Standing, talking. Suddenly, a Zimeni man runs out. At first, I didn't understand what was going on, then I guessed. Her boyfriend, of course, couldn't stand it, broke into him purely spontaneously. I come home, my mother is already on the phone. He's lisping to her there about my antics. She lets yell at me. The father came, you saw temporarily, stopped. But the next day, the mother is at work. The father also went somewhere. I went to walk the dog. Suddenly the dog barks. The fur stands on end, looks somewhere into the distance. I turn around and see this scoundrel behind the wheel of a car, rushing straight at me. Thank God, managed to jump back, just a dislocated leg. A 17-year-old boy dragged me home. But now it's the same thing every day. Why did I give birth to you? That's how we live. Brother in shock. I'm waiting for him to return from the army. I can't live like this anymore. My mom has a man to whom I treated absolutely calmly, even well, until I accidentally read the Psalms. God, I almost threw up. Adults to each other is writing. It's not serious and disgusting. Disgusting. I understand that parents don't choose, but I hate my father. I have a very good sum of points on the Unified State exam based on the results of previous years. I think I want to go to the university, the capital I want to be in. My father always said that we should get out of our city. Now he tells me that I'm not going anywhere because I'm guided only by primitive instincts. I just want to hang out. I'd rather get out of control and so on. It's so disgusting to hear all this from a loved one. Considering that I'm a modest girl and I've never even been to clubs. My parents got divorced 2 years ago. I stayed with my mom. She refused to call her stepfather dad. Kicked out of the house. Please help me, I'm only 16. Now my mother came up to me, said that my grandmother had been cleaned. The money was gone. And if even a penny goes missing, she will punish me. I have never taken a penny from anyone without asking. I'm dating a woman 12 years older than me. I'm 27. She loves me very much. The joke is that we've been dating for 3 years, and I can't tell you about her. My son is 4 years old, and he does not have a male organ. The testicles are in place, but instead of the device, there is a small hole. And I can't fight it. It's beyond me. I am tired of waking up every night from the same nightmare in which my son is suffering because of his incompleteness. My husband has aged 10 years during this time. I'm afraid to imagine what will happen next when he grows up. He's already asking me why his brother has another fifine. The doctors shrug their shoulders. My son will never be full-fledged. I don't know why we need all this. I bought a very beautiful and expensive prom dress. My parents went to another city. I was left at home alone. She went for a walk with her friends at night. I come home in the morning and realize that my apartment has been hacked. Terribly nervous, I entered the apartment. A computer, a microwave, and a printer were stolen. And the most important dress. Why steal the dress? There's nothing left until graduation. Damn, my parents have lost all conscience. I'm 20. I'm studying, I got a job. Recently there was the first payday. I come home in the hallway with a new wardrobe and a nightstand. But have you figured out why you need money, son? Anyway, there is no family yet. And if you need some clothes, I'll borrow them. I have liked one teacher for a long time, and he is also the dean. I slept with him today. Then he told me that tomorrow at 9:00 for the documents for the deduction. For what? It feels like when you tell the hairdresser, make me light waves. He hears, twist me like a sheep, but harder. KMP graduation is ruined. I'm home alone. In general, it began to rain, hail, and so on. I closed all the windows. Now I enter my brother's room, with the whole floor in water, and I flooded the neighbors. I forgot to close the balcony. My parents are divorced. I need to get my father's consent to travel abroad. And my father is hiding from the bailiffs, so as not to receive pills, because he owes us 1 million rubles. Today is the last day when you can write consent. My mom never cleans the house. As soon as I have grown to the level of the stove, I cook breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And mom doesn't care what quality, even if it's just buckwheat for lunch. The main thing is that she doesn't have to do it. To the store, I pay the bills. She spends her days resting. I haven't finished school yet, and already the impression that I have been living alone for many years. Mom explains this state of affairs simply. I plowed for my mother for many years, and then decided to have a child, so that he plowed for me. Be patient for a little while, then you will give birth to a daughter and rest like me. My mom hacks my contact, mail, and reads everything. KMP I can't anymore. I live with my parents. I was celebrating a friend's birthday with friends the other day. Got drunk as a skunk. When I was driving home, my mom sent a text message. Hi, where are you? In response, instead of I'm going, I typed up the letter B instead of D and sent it to the KMP. Once I felt sorry for a girl, which resulted in many years of relationships. I didn't love her, but for some reason, I tried to make her feel good. I was afraid to offend everything, so as not to do something. He became very complex, withdrawn, angry with himself, had a big quarrel with his parents. When you already find yourself a normal wife, you realize that you can't do this anymore. I only live someone else's life, and here I am pregnant. You will stay with us. I don't want anything in this life anymore. And he never learned to speak. No. Last year I was unable to enter the university due to lack of funds. But I did not despair. I decided to work for a year and save up for my studies. Worked at 2 jobs and a little moonlighting on the internet. He denied himself everything, ate dosherak and dumplings. Once a month he came home and put the money in the box. I imagined fun school years. Finally it happened. I have 160,000 in my piggy bank. Tomorrow the mother and her boyfriend are returning from Bali. I think everyone has already understood I'm bankrupt. They flew with my money. The mother hides behind the boyfriend. I didn't hear anything intelligible from them. I've been living with a guy 4 years, already talking about the wedding. I don't mind in principle. We've already gotten used to each other. We know everything about each other. All we have is quiet and peaceful. And I don't want to be quiet and calm. I want to live on emotions, on feelings, so that it takes my breath away. Met in a chat online toys guy. Funny, smart, interesting, emotions over the edge, is exactly what I dreamed of. He seems to care about me too. Told my boyfriend that I'm leaving, because I love another. I told Tom from the chat that I was free now, and that I liked him. And he was silent for a long time, and admitted that in fact he is a girl. Please help me, I've ruined everything for nothing. I broke my head, jumping out of the bus like a hare. And was it worth it to go to the hospital, saving 13 rubles? In general, I've always dreamed of a princess when I'm 20. I went to Krasnodar in November, met the most magnificent. We went to the mountains, got into an accident while I was in the hospital. She came once and didn't communicate anymore. After the new year I flew to Moscow. I met a girl at the airport. Everything was great. A week later, I decided to arrange a night with the same result. First they walked in the park, then they decided to come to me. I was hit by a truck. A girl once came to the hospital, and now we're friends. In May, a classmate finally reciprocated, who has been rolling up for a year. We agreed to meet. I followed her. Lost control of the car in the trash. I have a concussion and damage to my spine. He's coming tonight for the first time in a week. The loser's KMP. Some people have opened a barbecue delivery company. Well, what a cool idea. Good. Summer is on the nose, people will actively take. They wrote the phone number on the delivery car in large letters. And the trouble is that this phone number is mine. For the second day in a row, some people call me, asking about the delivery of barbecue. The first calls I was serious, talking about the wrong number. Now I'm not really holding back in conversation anymore. I can ask questions as a company operator. I can sadly say that all the kebabs have been delivered for today. Call me tomorrow before I get sick of it. But patience is not enough for a long time either. At the age of 14, I got drunk for the first time and threw up in the toilet at home. From work, my father, when asked what was the matter, received my clumsy lie that he was poisoned by my mother's cutlets. Not understanding, the father yelled at his mother. And for that it was the last straw. She packed her things, slammed the door, and left for her grandmother in her hometown. Since then, 5 years and 4 have passed. They still haven't reconciled for a month. Both are too proud to make the first move. I've already confessed everything to both dad and mom. They don't want to put up anyway. It is very bad and painful to realize that I became the last straw and knocked the last brick out of the fragile wall with my own hands. Our family. I was playing football with friends. For some reason I decided to swing on the gate. They fell on the jaw. The result of a concussion, a broken jaw, and some kind of crack in the skull. Another minor dislocation of the shoulder. I'm in the hospital, fed through a drip. I want to eat, even if the whole wolf howls. Face in bandages, emergency operation. I dreamed that we were quarreling with my boyfriend, and he calls my mom a bitch. But I immediately told him that his aunt was a real bastard. And then waking up from his own scream, "Your aunt is a reptile," and the young man was asleep. He jumped up. I've never seen such huge eyes on him. Apparently, the morning will begin with a heart-to-heart conversation. I have a girl who collects a Rubik's Cube during a cupcake. I can't hear this sound anymore because she collects and disassembles it once every 50 hours. KMP, since I can't leave her. I'm 17 years old, and I really like one guy. We met on a social network. We have been communicating for a year, talking about art, music, discussing books and films. He's 19. He calls me his muse, even dedicated a couple of poems to me. He says he's genuinely in love, asks for a photo. And I can't admit to him that his beloved Sasha is actually Alexander. You know about the new vacay social experiment. Write to your girlfriend boyfriend. I haven't been completely honest with you. And don't answer for an hour. I wrote to my fiancé. Tomorrow we take the application to the registry office to the KMP. But he worked in a construction company. I had the opportunity to go on a business trip to the resort city of Gelendzhik. I happily agreed. I arrived, the work was going well, the team was good, but after 2 weeks, the office had financial problems. There was a delay of business trip weeks, and then to -3. By the end of the 3rd week, there was nothing to eat, and a couple of people caught the hedgehog, butchered him in front of me and a soup. A week ago, I was returning home from uni, and saw 2 boys of 10-12 years old, mocking a puppy, throwing stones at him. It's lunchtime, but everyone is in a hurry somewhere, as if they don't notice it. I, of course, did not tolerate this. I went up to them, took the puppy and scolded. They covered me with obscenities and started throwing stones at me already. A guy passed by, yelled at them. I caught up with one and gave him a slap on the head, and not much. Together with the guy, we reached the shelter to take the puppy. They said goodbye, and I safely forgot about this story. Until today. Today, returning home the same way, 2 men approached me with one of these boys. And one of them asks, did I beat his son? I honestly answered that no. They didn't believe me. As a result, I have a concussion, and my whole body is covered in bruises. Thank God, the face was not badly damaged. Naturally, I wrote a statement on them, and it will not go unpunished, since there are both witnesses and connections. But now the session. I have a constant headache, and it hurts to walk. I'm 19 years old, but I've never had a boyfriend, no one even tried to take care of me. Therefore, I was very happy when someone began to leave flowers every morning in the door handle of our apartment. A rose, a small bouquet of dandelions or some other cute flowers. I thought I finally had a shy and romantic admirer. I decided to see who it was. I sat down early in the morning under the door, and when I heard that someone came up, I abruptly opened it. There was a boy standing there with another bouquet. I thought it was sent by a mysterious admirer. But it turned out that this boy is a classmate of my younger sister, and leaves flowers for her. My sister already has a personal life at the age of 11, but I still don't. When I told my father that I was getting married, his first sentence was, "Finally, I won't have to support you." I was surprised, but on the whole I took it as a joke, because I have been completely independent of my parents for several years. And when I returned from my honeymoon, I found out that Dad quit his job, filed for divorce, and flew to Peru. I was blown away. I began to question my mother. And it turned out that she had been extorting money from her father all this time, allegedly for me, and asked him not to divorce, because it would break the child's psyche. The child is 28 years old. I haven't noticed what's going on in my family for so long. I am 16 and have 2 older brothers. Recently, my mother began to lose money. From a friend, I learned that the brothers go to Bet Sports Bar. Mom became suspicious of them, and they blamed me. Type I steal your money on clothes. I sell homemade fanichki on the internet. I earn 3-4,000 rubles a month. But they said it stole from Mom. To prove my innocence, I followed them, and filmed on my phone how they go to the sports bar and bet money. I showed my mom's recording, but it was noisy, and the lighting was bad. Little is clear. As a result, the brothers said something to her, and my mother took away my money, forbade me to sit on the internet, and took me to a psychiatrist like kleptomania and paranoia, although he didn't confirm anything, and decided to observe me. My wife is 5 years old, my daughter is a year old. My wife often sat on different forums where she found the love of her life. One day she went to a friend, and called in the morning to say that she would not return. The boss gave a 2-week vacation. I filed for divorce. Later I was still looking for my wife's parental rights. Both trials are postponed. The wife cannot be found to deliver the notice. My mother drinks, regardless of mood, weather, affairs. 1 liter a day without snacking. She does not work, while her stepfather plows at 2 jobs. I work part-time, and, as far as possible, I buy something home. I tried to talk to her, spend time together, invited her friends to visit, refuses in favor of the stack and the series. Stepfather is at work from morning to night, so he does not know the whole situation. Yes, and a little scandalous. Besides me, there are 3 other children in the family. The younger ones are 3-5 years old. The one who is 5, clearly not all right with the psyche. He talks very badly and does not always behave adequately. They sent her to the force with little. She wouldn't let me go to the doctors with him at all. In the capital to a psychologist friend, she came back and said that everything was fine, she just needed a speech therapist. As always, it turned out that she came to the reception drunk, and the little one needs urgent treatment from a psychiatrist. Because of the schizo. My house burned down while I was at work. There were about 400 lying there. 100,000 stash, which I saved up to take my family to Cuba in July. Saved up 4 or 5 years for a dream. I was at home with my mistress. The wife came earlier than expected. She saw us. Silently, but with tears in her eyes, she packed her things, told her mistress, "Take care of him, he's good," and left. My mistress immediately left me, saying that if I cheated on such a wonderful woman, then I would betray her all the more. And she ran off after her now ex-wife to console. I was waiting for a guy from the army, when I had 5.5 months to wait. I went to him overnight and got knocked up. I decided not to tell him and to surprise him. On my return. And now he's back. I met him at the train station. Before I could tell him about my situation, he called me a fat cow and said that he didn't need me like that. 9 months after giving birth, there was no menstruation. I was terribly afraid of getting pregnant. I did tests every week. I went to the doctor, she laughed and said that it was not necessary to do them so often. She stopped. It kind of started 3 days ago. I was glad. Yesterday went fine, but today everything is flooded. Every half-hour walk-in shower. She's all pale and her hands are shaking. I called the doctor. She said to call an ambulance. I realized that I was going to the hospital. I asked my husband for a netbook to download songs to my phone. I open it, and there's a Viki page with declarations of love to left-wing girls. The husband took the cord and ran away from home. Bottom line, I'm covered in blood and crying pale. I'm 26. In 2 days, the parents have a 40-year anniversary. I decided to give them trips to Italy. After all, mom's dream. I started postponing it since October. I have a small PO. I made a hiding place in my comb. Recently had a fight with a guy. Left, packed her things. And my comb. There is no more money. I can't let my mom down, and this one doesn't answer the phone. This morning, in a great mood, I rushed to buy a birthday present for my beloved. A blow, a lot of blood and hysteria. The car hit, and even ran over so that the skin on the foot is stripped to the bone, and almost hangs down, like a big break. The traffic police ambulance, the long wait for the doctors, and my plea to leave the little finger by any means. In the operating room, I felt like they were peeling off the skin and sewing something up there. I couldn't look anymore. After that, even the nurse who comforted all the way and said, "Be prepared for anything." I'm lying in the ward and shaking before tomorrow's food. I don't know what will happen with the dressing. It's her own fault, she crossed in the wrong place. Living with mom and dad, like not poor, but money was never enough. That is, I have 2 t-shirts, 3 underpants, 1 bra, 1 jeans, and a sweatshirt. That's all the clothes for the summer. Recently I began to notice that there is money for the TV. I have a jacket for my mom's phones, for my dad's car too, but I don't have a pack of diaries. Usually I discussed such issues with my mom, but then I decided to go to my dad. There was a big scandal. It turned out that dad gave mom good money monthly only for me, not counting food and herself. Mom is at grandma's now, dad has filed for divorce. I sit at home and roar. But now I have new underpants. Yesterday I bathed in the shower at my dorm. We have it in the basement. First there is the dressing room, and then the shower itself. The light turns on in the dressing room right next to the entrance. In general, I was standing, swimming, someone turned off the light here. Shouted, zero reaction. I tried to get out in the dark and figure it out. I slipped, broke my leg, and got a concussion. After 2 hours I was found naked in the shower and unconscious. Now I'm in the hospital. I'm going to my girlfriend's birthday party. In a white suit with color. Flowers, a gift, a 9 passes by, and pours mud on me from head to toe. In shock, I take a piece of brick, and throw it at the 9 that stopped at the traffic light. The 9 drives by, and I get into a cop car that drove up to that place. Got a 4-paged text from my mom, where she tells in detail, what and how you going to do with me tonight. Me and her boyfriend under the same names are recorded in her phone. I am a 19-year-old student, studying in the 3rd year of the institute. Since childhood I was shy, but then I decided, and called a girl with a stream, which I like for a natural date. She agreed, and the time was set. It was the happiest evening. Goodbye to my life. Well, I come, and she's still not there. Call says, I'm close, baby, almost there. Then turn right, and look like a girl sitting on a bench with a bunch friends and takes pictures of me, burns, laughing all over the street. And they also launched a stream of my humiliation on YouTube, under the photos and videos of me standing alone with a fucking bouquet. The whole institute likes Frontalkt and YouTube. When I realized what had happened, I gave the bouquet to the girl who was passing by. Having said that, have a good day to you. She walked 2 meters and threw the bouquet into the trash. The bench just exploded with laughter. I'm a student girl. I haven't lived with my parents for 4 years. My ancestors constantly wouldn't let me out of the house, so I decided to move out from them. Then I met a guy. We started dating. One day he sent me an awesome red dress and matching shoes, and on top of it was an invitation to a romantic date. I was already dressed, put on red lipstick, and suddenly realized that I had yellow teeth because I had a lot of time. Very little. I decided to rub my teeth with toilet duckling. The effect was obvious, but 2 weeks later, I started having a furious toothache, as if someone was driving a razor through my teeth. The guy took me to the doctor. Soon the teeth had to be pulled out, 4 upper and 2 lower front ones. My parents think he fucked me up, and I don't know how to admit everything. At the age of 11, I lost consciousness after donating blood and knocked out my front tooth. I've lived my whole life as a composite somehow. Of course, they differ in color, but this difference is not very noticeable. And all would be nothing if today, walking through the park, my tooth decided to fall out. Everything would be fine, but he fell out during a kiss on a date. The guy left me without teeth. We are dating a girl of 4 years. Submitted an application to the registry office. The wedding is coming soon. Yesterday, we launched a heavenly flashlight in the form of a heart, a symbol of our love. He took off and after a while collapsed. That's it, it's a sign. We're not meant to be together. We take the application away from the quarrel. Some cheap Chinese flashlight decided our fate. The day before yesterday, I was sitting at home, bored, suddenly decided to fool around. It's dignity on the digital. Giggled and forgot. I washed up and went to bed. In the morning, my relatives called me to the water park and asked me to take a camera. I prasanga never remembered anything. And, accordingly, I took it with a calm soul. They picked me up, took pictures at the water park. Then at the recreation center where it is located. And then we went to visit our aunt. We decided to look at the photos. And my sister took a flash drive from a digital camera and started throwing it on a laptop. I was just sitting and drinking tea in the kitchen with my uncle. I went into the hall where everyone was sitting and saw their confused dinners. The smiles directed at me did not justify themselves. I'm just silent for the second day. My hysterical dad just smashed the computer to smithereens. He beat me up too. And all because, you see, he was slowing down. Probably because it's raining now. Thunder and lightning are constantly heard. And the electricity is cut off back and forth. It's a shame for the broken computer. After all, he did not buy it, but his mother, like everything else in the house. I had a delay. I bought a pregnancy test. I did everything as it should be. No, it's not the end of the story. It would be too corny. So, there is one stripe. I have been doing some research, all the garbage and went to throw out. Thinking that mom and grandma wouldn't set fire, I'll throw everything in a dumpster on the street. Volunteered to buy bread like a cover. I bought a loaf, returning home happy. Mom is on the doorstep. In her hands she has something there that she pokes, not in the face with the words, "What is it? I'd like to know myself." I intercept her hand and see a piece of paper insert, "How to use the test." Once acquainted with a young man. On the same day, we decided to meet in the evening. Let's go to a cafe for tea. For some reason, it took a long time to choose where to sit down. I wanted to create a pleasant environment around, light, privacy and so on. As a result, there was a similar one, only next to the toilet. The door was behind my chair, but the young man could perfectly see not only those coming out of the bathroom, but also the room itself. Before the meal, I decided to go to this wonderful place. And you need to make a note. I have an acute form of claustrophobia. I'm afraid of enclosed spaces terribly. And so, out of fear of being imprisoned, I did not completely close the door. I pulled down my pants, just thought to sit down for a push. And just at this moment, a guy opens the door. And I, accordingly, find myself on view of most of the hall. Somehow, I didn't have a chance to meet this gentleman again. I'm sitting at home outside the window. It's raining, the wind is strong, rivers are running through the streets, everything is flooded. And I want to eat at home wasteland. I run out, get in the car, go to the nearest doner kebab. I park for about 15 minutes so that I can go right to the curb and not get my feet wet. I go out, and the doner is literally 10 meters away, and there is a huge puddle in front of him. You think, oh hell with it, run to get to the entrance to land. I hold my breath, jump, my feet touch the surface. And I'm falling somewhere deep. In short, he dived headlong. I'll put it back on the curb from there. Looking around, the whole stop is laughing. From the donor, the employee is waved in the other direction, where they have built themselves a bridge of the institution. I'm 100% wet. Alarm system from PC machine. The father came, the documents were soaked through. Well, fuck them all. I went and still bought a donor and devoured it in front of the visitors who looked at me wildly. I steamed for 4 years in a row, covering myself with a blanket, and constantly discovering that it is a cross. It turned out to be square. When I was 7 years old, I almost drowned in a lake. I was terribly scared then. Still don't like water. I'm dating a guy right now. He took me on a journey where I didn't know. It turned out to be on the river. Naturally, I refused to swim. Then he just threw me into the water from the shore. It was very deep and scary, and it was also cold. In general, I lost consciousness. Of course, he pulled me out, but he gave me away. It's your own fault. It was necessary to swim. The doctor prescribed me pills, which contain valerian. We have a cat. Guess further. While we were all at work, she pulled a cardboard box out of the nightstand. The nightstand was closed. I chewed this box, chewed the blisters, and devoured 20 tablets. There was very little valerian there. Everything else is not suitable for the cat's diet at all. Now she's on a drip in the next room. I won't survive if she's gone. He was a great dancer and sprinter. I ran short distances fast. The day before yesterday, I ran home in the rain and fell. I got up through the pain, twisted my leg when I fell. It hurt a lot. I thought it would pass by itself. In the late afternoon, when he saw that his leg was swollen, went to the doctor. Tore the ligaments so much so that they will grow together for a long time and hard. I won't be able to dance properly, let alone run fast. And tomorrow there are important competitions and a performance in the theater soon. I have a big family, 6 people. My parents, me, 2 younger brothers, and my grandmother. Years ago, I foolishly stole some change from my mom's purse for ice cream. Mom found out, scolded, forgave. I'm 20 now. A couple of days ago, my boyfriend fell, broke his shin. I paid for the operation. I borrowed money from the boss. The guy successfully operated. And today, as soon as I came to work, my mother calls and gives out. A large sum has disappeared with my dad. I know you took it. And I have nothing to say, except I didn't take it, which sounds very stupid, since the amount is equal to the cost of the operation. The rest are not even suspected, because they have always been perfect children. I'm a loser. I am studying in Ukraine. The other day, my passport was stolen, and they demanded over 100 minus 500 hryvnias for it. He told them to shove this passport anywhere. There's not that much money. With all this, I am a citizen of the Russian Federation, and I do not have a residence permit here. I can't leave. Summer practice. The migration card is overdue. I feel like a bum. He is at a loss, and the money is running out. I was fired from my job. I do not know what to do. I don't want to go home either. Drop out of school. I was cleaning the territory of the garden where I work, and I came across a syringe. I didn't immediately understand what it was. I thought the branch bit into it. Got a few punctures. You know what that might mean? I'm afraid to go for tests, and I can't tell anyone. I have a bad memory for medical reasons, but that's not the problem. No, many people live quietly with this, since there have been many events in life, and from where there are so many of them. I started writing them down ever since I learned to write, more specifically from the age of 4 or 5, crookedly, obliquely. In block letters, day after day, in as much detail as possible. We moved a lot, and sometimes quite far. But I always took all my diaries with me. It didn't matter how much space they took up. A few years ago, we moved again to a small town, where we live to this day. Recently I was in a bad relationship with her mother. Because of what I will keep silent, it does not matter. When, after another quarrel, I returned home from school, I found my mother in the kitchen, burning the last 2 notebooks with my notes to herself. On the contrary, it is not a mountain of gray ashes in front of her. A little more than 10 years of my life have been burned. The military enlistment office has not been looking for me for 5 years. Officially, he worked without an assigned and military officer, but everything was fine. Only now some new law has come out that organizations must report people like me. I went to the accounting department, asked the chief accountant not to give out. He agreed. That's just Grandma Kadrovichka accidentally read my last name along with everyone else. When talking to the military enlistment office on the phone, they asked me to come over. I was looking for a job. The first interview. Right before entering the office, I stepped into the shit. The second interview, I had a nosebleed. The third interview. While it was raining, it started to rain, and they just wouldn't let me in. They said it was better not to appear in this form. Before the fourth, they called me and said that I was fired from the job where I worked part-time while I was running and looking for work. All this happened in one day from 10:30 to 16:15. Evening, preparation for an important exam. Session after all. About the hour of the night in tears, calling the best friend, have been friends for more than 4 years. She calls saying that she is physically ill. Dying. I need someone to sit next to her. As a result, I sat with her like a little girl all night, almost rocked. Of course, I'm not ready for the exam. And in the morning, this same friend tells me that it was all a joke, and she checked me like that. In the end, I didn't pass anything, and flew out of the university. We were walking down the street, talking about some nonsense. My voice, bitch, is loud. Somehow it was in the subject to say, Allahu Akbar with my voice. The priest who passed by looked at me like that, still terribly ashamed. He himself is Orthodox and a believer. Back from an office party on the fun, and my husband wanted love and affection. I blurted out drunk. We will so that I like it too. Or as always, files for divorce. Today was the diploma defense. Defended on 4, but put 3. They argued that there were already a lot of good ratings in the whole group, and it will be too suspicious that everyone is so smart, so 3. The guy and I have been dating for a month. Yesterday he told me that I allegedly don't trust him. And we decided that I should take a confidence test, that is, fall backwards into his hands. Today I'm in the hospital with a broken spine, and this bread didn't even bother to call. Met 2 months with a girl. Met at the bus stop. It turned out, we on one bus. Everything was perfect. She looks fragile, her palms are so small, slender. Recently, her younger sister said that my girlfriend has been boxing for almost 6 years. Like, a week ago, I went to the region, I brought gold. I didn't believe it. I decided to check it out, because I didn't see anything serious in women's boxing. At first, I was just angry, trying to get out of myself. 0 result. I decided to yell, but I didn't notice how I started swinging. The girl reacted instantly. Now I'm in the hospital, I have a broken nose and jaw. The eye swam in a bruise. My parents think I ran into someone on the street. Even telling the truth is a shame. And the girl is constantly apologizing to me all the time. I love her. Relations with parents are very tense. Since childhood, I remember how my parents fought. Ricky Matz because his mother drank black. Mom snapped at me. But somehow I got used to it. I come home, my things are standing near the door. My beloved mom said that I was a thief, and I exchanged her gold earrings for a buzz. And I don't even smoke. She went to a friend. Today, a friend told me that she saw my mother coming out of a pawn shop. I come to the university and see on the wall a collage of photos of screenshots from surveillance cameras, where I changed the gasket in the toilet at the same university. I haven't been going to uni for a week, and I'll never go there again. I was 17. I had a boyfriend with whom I was 2 years old. We studied at the same school, one class, one desk. I decided to introduce my parents. They came to my house, had dinner, laughed, but as soon as the guy left, Dad said, "Not your daughter." And that's it. After a week, everything in him began to infuriate and annoy me. And I realized that Dad was right. And so it was all the time. After meeting relatives, if Dad or Mom says that it's not mine, I cool down. I start to hate the person. I'm 38 now. I found a man who was single, smart, attentive. I met my parents yesterday, but you understand, right? Since childhood, I have been distinguished by pale skin, almost transparent. My parents protected me from the sun from birth, and I know myself, as soon as I grew up, it became less to walk in the heat. Friends jokingly called me a vampire since I rarely walk. And 2 years ago, I met the man of my dreams. He loves me very much, and I love him. But he hinted more than once, they say I need to tan. I laughed it off and didn't pay attention to it. And recently he invited me to fly to Egypt to rest. I didn't agree for a long time because it's very hot there. But in the end, my beloved persuaded me, but on condition that I would sit in the room. We flew there a week ago. And once again, I went to bed with a pillow because I was walking all night. I told my beloved to go to the beach alone. I wake up a few hours later on the beach. I can't move. I'm lying in shock. I can't touch my skin. Hysterically, they begin to ask what I'm doing here, to which the beloved replies, Well, at least it's tanned. The result is a hospital with the deepest burns. It has always infuriated me that modern girls are brought up as typical consumer boats, because I brought up my own in strictness. She studied well, studied music and drawing. I always dressed her stylishly and with taste. Against the background of her peers in pink t-shirts, she looked like a real little lady. For up to 10 years, she begged, of course, for Barbie dolls. I chose more adequate toys for her, children's cosmetics, and a room like a princess, and then stopped. By 18, I gave her a one-bedroom closer to the university. She found a job and started studying by correspondence. And then it turns out that the stylish design is its own. In her apartment, she changed to bright pink wallpaper hung with posters from girly magazines, a pink carpet, a pink bed, and a sea of Barbie dolls with a toy house. He spends all the money he earns on trips to the children's world for piggy t-shirts, children's cosmetics and toys. Studying sideways all the time for 2 jobs, shopping and playing with dolls. No personal life, guys just run away from her. Yesterday she turned 22. My mother organized a trip to St. Petersburg for our parallel. About 30 people gathered. Recently, several people refused to go, but it was possible to return the money only for tickets. We were sitting at home with a classmate, decided to call the booked hotel and ask for a refund. Pretending to be a girl who needed money for her sister's operation, so that they would at least be ashamed. Got through. This hotel does not take prepayment. It turns out that mom deceived everyone. Back in 2001, I am an intern at the regional clinical hospital, night duty aides manual. The ambulance brings another drunk around 1 o'clock in the morning. According to all the symptoms, a conductive ulcer. An urgent operation is needed, and the duty team is already operating. I get permission, I open the patient, and there is an ulcer. The first operation was successful. After 3 weeks he is discharged, I get a fat plus. Now I work in another hospital. A man came to the reception the day before yesterday. After the examination, it became clear that the drug addict began to convince to contact a narcologist. Suddenly he grabbed my hand and started yelling. "Why did you do the operation for me? I couldn't drink after you. I got hooked on wheels, everyone abandoned me. I was riding a bike. I was driving down a steep hill at high speed. My nose was stuffy, so I breathed through my mouth. And something flew into my mouth, or maybe it's possible. A fly or some kind of beetle is not the point. Caught in the respiratory tract. I'm falling off my bike with all my stupidity, flying along the road for another 20 meters. Because of this stupid shit, I start to suffocate. Then I don't remember anything." He ended up in the hospital with 2 broken legs and a broken collarbone. Lots of bruises and I have the last call and the first exams this week. And I was all in casts and bandages for a ride. I am the most natural burdock. I study in the city myself from the region. Literally an hour ago I was standing at the bus stop, in a hurry to go to the dorm. And then a pregnant gypsy woman comes up to me. She started to rub something into me about my life, love and so on. As they usually do. I'm standing there, gaping, listening. In general, she talked me into 1.5 K. Literally hypnosis, and the absence of cold thinking, for a short time. Now I'm going home with 200 rubles in my wallet, already with my brains restored. I don't know what to do. For me, it is a lot of money. I work as a seller of shawarma and hot dogs. A pure drug buyer came in today. His eyes are screwed up, his speech is incoherent. Well, I bought something. After 5 minutes, the administrator calls, and we have his phone number listed on the showcase. He asks why I have strangers in outerwear. I'm shocked to say, there's no one here. He replies that a client has just complained about a gypsy woman who stuck out her tongue at him. I explain what kind of guy he was. And then the administrator says that I'm scolding clients and now I won't see the bonus. It will happen again, it will fire you. I am 20 years old. I look 15, small in both height and build. I've been listening to a lesson from alternative to metal since I was 13. They gave me a metallic t-shirt for my birthday. And now, almost 6 months later, I put it on. And in vain me, a girl with wild screams, die. Metallurgy filthy. Some guys fucked up not only with their hands, but also with their feet. Hello, broken arm. Broken kidneys, a broken nose and bruises on the face. Tomorrow at the university foreshadowed several complex tests. I have been preparing for them for a long time and well, very hard. Today I had to go to the finish line. I decided to drink a medicine that activates brain activity. I get up, so in the morning, I drink a couple of pills that came to hand. An hour or two, and the action is zero. Come to the table and understand that drank hypnotic. As a result, I slept the whole exam. Of course, I did not pass. May is very fruitful for the birthdays of classmates. 7 people invited me to visit. I went to the 3. Everyone came with gifts, and I tried to. But I didn't connect my parents. We live on mom's modest salary. And instead of gifts, I brought my own ugly homemade crafts. But a clever boy who can easily develop a chicken, not a bird, Gorky is not a writer, brought a book to literature lessons. I didn't buy it, but took it from home for a new one. His parents are very polite people. They praised me for a good gift and opened the book. And there were a lot of cockroaches, there were a lot of screams. A pretty slender girl got on an intercity bus. The journey lasts 2 hours. Grandfather sat down next to him. He looks normal, does not smell, does not cough. He asked me where I was going. Would I disturb him, since he was sitting on the edge? I said that I was going all the way to my destination, and would not get off at passing villages. He said what a good traveling companion I had. I put the headphones in my ears and immersed myself in my thoughts, listening to music. And then my grandfather was pulled to talk. From where, what to do. Well, I think Grandpa is probably bored. As usual, old people want to talk. I didn't become rude, I answered. Out of politeness, I asked where he was from. By the end of the road, the action began. He started pestering me about my personal life. I asked to take his hand, permission to stroke mine. Then I gave him your address, and for the entire bus. Come to my uncle's for tea. I'll caress your husband will never be able. I'm a pretty girl. I live in a small town where everyone knows each other. There were always a lot of fans, one was especially persistent. At first I rejected him, but unbeknownst to myself, I fell head over heels in love. We started dating. Once he offered me to make a home video. It turned out to be extremely frank. The next day, the video flew around the social network. I found out right away. The calls of friends began. I stubbornly did not take my favorite phone. He wasn't at home either. The harassment began. At work on the street, everyone was laughing, pointing and condemning looks. The small town just exploded with gossip and gossip. Even Slava's grandmothers watched the video. Dismissal followed. The management said that I was ruining the company's image. A week later, I met a nice one. When asked why, he replied with a grin, "You shouldn't have turned me down. Let everyone know what you are." And that's not all. Yesterday, my dad had a heart attack, couldn't stand the humiliation. I came to him in the hospital. He looked at me and said, "Daughter, I gave you my whole life. Why are you doing this to me?" My mom wouldn't let me go to the concert. I was very offended with her. We had a fight. She left the house, and when she came back, she rang the doorbell. I pretended not to hear, turned off the phone and so on. It turned out that she was going to get concert tickets, and forgot how. Keys. When I was paying my rent at the bank, the cashier offered to buy a lottery ticket. In such a case, I usually have no luck, but I always bought it every couple of weeks. The apartment was inherited from the now deceased parents. I live in it with a girl. We've been dating for 2 years. On the day of the drawing, they were urgently called to work, asked the girl to play. The next day, she said that she had not won the ticket, which I was not upset about. We'll be lucky another time. But then the most interesting thing began. She began to have new clothes. She doesn't work anywhere. Technique. She answered my questions that she had found a job for herself. I like it with a flexible schedule. I didn't mind, but she spent her entire salary exclusively on herself. I still paid for accommodation and food, and sometimes there wasn't even enough money. And recently, during a major quarrel, she said that she was leaving, and added, "Thank you for the generous gift. Darling, I have enough for a long time." At first I didn't understand, and then I learned from her friend that it turns out that ticket won just a huge amount of money. I'm in high school. The lives of complaining. Excellent relationship with parents. So, in the 5th grade, I had a big fight with my mom. I wrote the last letter in resentment. Supposedly I will go to the next world. In fact, I wasn't going to at all, but I wrote this letter to scare my mother a little. A day later, I reconciled with her. I searched for this unfortunate note until the last one, but I never found it. I thought I threw it away. 3 years have passed, and one evening, when I came home, I saw my mother in tears. She found this note. To my words like it was stupid. Mom wasn't paying attention. From the moment of this discovery, Mom began to be paranoid. Immediately after any of our quarrels, she forbids me to close the door in my room. Controls me out of the corner of his eye. After one of the petty squabbles, fully covered with a blanket, I fell asleep. Mom runs into my room, and, not seeing me, yells. She jumped off, and then she starts shaking wildly and mumbling something. Barely calmed down. I went with my parents to the market to buy my boots. I liked some of them very much, but they were too expensive. I take it and say, I'm pregnant, and pregnant women cannot be refused. Drop the price. Parents agree, so the purchase was cheaper. They are my pranksters, though they are very strict. When they walked away, Dad, laughing, said that if it was true then he would have kicked me out on the street to my boyfriend, without boots, and claims to parental support. And I wasn't lying. I am a Russian language teacher at school. In the 10th grade, there is a student who very often skips classes and does not dudes, seemingly for no reason. But I called her mother without a second thought and informed her about it. The girl hasn't been to school for 2 weeks. I accidentally found out from her classmates that her father kicked her out, and she skipped, because she worked to feed herself and her brother. 18 years old, the guy was brought up from the age of 2. I was never deprived of the attention of a foster family. I was raised as a native. At the age of 13, I really wanted a motorcycle, and a sports one at that. As a result, from the age of 14, he constantly worked part-time, saved all pocket and gift money, and by his 18th birthday, he had accumulated a reception, a personal sum, which was a little short of my dream sport bike. They promised to add money to my amount, then there would be exactly enough for a bike. My non-native 25-year-old sister used my savings to buy an iPad, a 5th iPhone, a DSester, a laptop, and clothes with plaster. And they don't believe me that she stole the money. I decided to play a guy for almost 3 years together, and at the same time to see his reaction. She said that I was sick for the second week, and I was really sick then. He asks why, what happened? And I answer him in all seriousness, my love, I got knocked up. He sat down, looked at me, and said that he would have to rent an apartment, then go to work and so on. I started making plans, and then I started rocking and repeating one phrase, what will Dad say? It was as if he had fallen into a trance. I tortured him for an hour, and then I say I was joking. Calm down. And he looked at me, and then let's mumble the same phrase. As a result, I am not pregnant. The guy has been treated in a mental hospital for the 6th month. He had a shock. I was joking. I work as a courier. I am 19 years old. I'm distributing food. Another departure. A very disheveled girl opened the door to me. And from her, and from the state of her corridor and room in the distance, it was clear that she had clearly stayed at home too long. There is dirt all around, everything smells of tobacco, everything is scattered. She herself looked bad, staggered, and when she began to pay, she ran to the toilet and threw up there. When asked, she said that her stomach hurts a lot. At the same time, she almost moaned out loud. I asked if I should call an ambulance. She just leaned against the wall and cried. But I called an ambulance. I was afraid to leave her. I went with her to the hospital because there were no more orders. It turned out that appendicitis had burst. Now everything is okay, she has been operated on. She's been home a long time. But she constantly, when she orders pizza, asks that I be sent by courier. And when I arrive, he touches me, tries to seduce me somehow or something. And I'm disgusted. When my cousin was 3 years old, we went to the river with him. They went pretty deep for him. There were breasts. He was in my arms, I put him on an inflatable boat, and she started diving, swimming around. And once again I come up, and he's not there. There are not many people around. I was underwater for 10 seconds. Start looking for him under the water. I was already thinking about how I would give him artificial respiration. He never surfaced. My wife and I bought an apartment. We have 2 children. The apartment is so-so, but the most normal option that suited us. A large house, an apartment on the ground floor. We went to carry things to the apartment, just stopped by. Mom called and said that father is sick. She got into the car and drove away quickly. Told me to keep an eye on the children. But I left things on the street, thinking the first floor would not be stolen. I went into the apartment, and these beloved children took out a jar of cherry tincture. I don't know where it came from. And they drank it. A 2-liter jar, nothing left. Children 5 and 14. 14 years old. They feel sick. The younger one has already vomited. The daughter speaks in style, you respect me. I put him to bed. When outside, there are no things. Wife says that all is well, and on her way back. I'm sitting in the apartment without things and drunken children. Today I bought dried mint. Grandma came and thought it wasn't mint at all. She called me names and is going to rewrite the will on my cousin. And this is a 1-bedroom apartment in the city center. I drank tea. I'm 15. Pretty nice, sociable and cheerful girl. I never knew my mom, I live with my dad. We have a very cold relationship with him, but I still feel his love. One day I was coming back from a friend's get-together, and saw that Dad was talking to someone on the phone. I was called over, and I decided to listen. It was too painful, he was preoccupied. God, I can't take it anymore. I can see her, whose daughter. She constantly reminds me of the boat that robbed me. I don't understand why I keep her here at all, how much I hate her, and so on and so forth. My mother comes into my room and sits down to watch what I'm doing at the computer. I am autistic, so this rarely happens. Suddenly I start talking, telling, commenting on what is happening on the screen. He showed a concert and talked about post-rock. I forgot I was talking to my mother. But she sat for 10-15 minutes and said, "My son is a scribe. I never thought that such a bottom would grow. Again, we will have to chat with psychologists about the values of life." When I was 3 years old, my parents left me and my nanny alone at home. The babysitter was drinking coffee and didn't think to play with me. I went near her and asked that we played. She gave up and said she would finish her cup of coffee now and we would play. I ran around the house impatiently. I don't remember what happened next. I woke up when my mom and dad were at home. I was lying on the lap of this nanny, all in tears, and I had a terrible headache. It turned out, the nurse started to give me a ride and not once been caught. I was in the hospital for about 2 months with a brain hemorrhage and traumatic brain injury are complex. Many years have passed, and the consequences are still tormenting. I was walking down the street and saw a beautiful girl on the other side. She looked over at me, and I walked on, smiling at her. I was walking and didn't notice. Yes, a pillar. The girl laughed wildly and left with a concussion and a broken heart. Shoot the master's pickup truck. I'm just terribly afraid of snakes. To the point of panic. Even when I see them in the pictures, it immediately becomes unclear. To myself. And so it has been since childhood. So guess which pet the husband bought? He bought a python. I'll die of fear or get divorced. I met the perfect girl, fell in love, as it turned out, mutually. Fortunately, there was no limit. I love her madly, I'm ready to start. That's it, and decorations for her, and flowers, and restaurants, and an unusual date. I was going to make an offer. Ex very angry, because she did nothing of the sort. Last night, she ambushed my beloved at the entrance, attacked her with a shout, "Don't you dare approach him," and cut it off for her. Her long hair. The girl in hysterics cannot calm down in any way. I was very scared. She loves me, but she will never approach me again because she is afraid of her ex. I am a 5th-year student of the technical faculty. I'm applying a diploma. The defense is next week. I'm rearranging it in good faith. I wrote for almost 6 months, and not just in the city, but in the editor, where every formula and every word needs to be written with tags, which is very tedious. The computer started to fail, and, of course, I threw all the necessary files on a US flash drive and reinstalled Windows. And the goal here in the minibus was stolen a wallet, in which there was this flash drive with all the books, information on the diploma. And the diploma itself, of course. My brothers and I were taken from an orphanage. My foster mom and dad are deeply religious, so they took 4 children at once. My brothers and I were brought up in austerity and almost poverty. There is no TV, there are no good toys either. Of the books, only the Bible and a few spiritual ones. No cell phones, no computers, no fancy clothes. It takes away from God. If my dad is still quite an adequate person, then the foster mother is seriously going crazy. She sees devilry everywhere, can attack the brothers if they prayed too hard, and so on. We are graduating from school this year. Parents force, do not give a choice to go to the seminary. Our passports have already been taken away and hidden, so that Satan will not tempt us to run away. Even a special school was given to them, where they teach little basic sciences, but religious lessons are taught every day. Even if I run away from home, I'm unlikely to be able to enroll somewhere, because I won't even be able to write the Unified State exam. See also, I'm a mother wants Craper from Minecraft.